So many different people to be that it's strange, so strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. When I look over my shoulder, what do you think I see? Summer cat looking over his shoulder at me, and he's strange, sure is strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch, yeah. Beatniks out to make it rich. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. You got to pick up every stitch. The rabbits running in the ditch. Beatniks out to make it rich. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch. Where'd I go? When I look out my window, what do you think I see? And when I look in my window, so many different people to be. It's strange, sure is strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. The rabbits running in the ditch. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of
We come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone. They try to knock us down, but change is coming. It's our time now. Hey, everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. And hey, yeah, I know what you're going through. Don't let it get the best of you. You'll make it out alive. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. Hey, this is not a funeral, it's a revolution after all. Your tears have turned into rage. Just wait, everything will be okay. Even when you're feeling like you're going down in flames. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. They can't do nothing to you, they can't do nothing to me. This is the life that we choose, this is the life that we lead. So throw your fists in the air, come out if you dare. Tonight we're gonna change forever. Everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us.
It's UUCC Zoom-In Live with special guest Bob Horan. Here's your host, David Kantor, with co-host Claudia Victoroff.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our co-host, Claudia Victoroff. Claudia, great to see you this evening.
Great to see you, David.
So this is a true international show tonight because Claudia is located in Cleveland tonight. I'm doing the show from Boston, Massachusetts. And of course, that you just heard the voice of our producer, Liz Kantor, who of course is over the border in Houston, Texas. So we're glad you're all here with us this evening. I want to remind you all that those of you who were not with us missed an outstanding virtual night a couple of Saturday nights back. We played this fun game of Two Truths and a Lie. You would have heard all these stories about Itsy Itzkowitz and Bitsy Itzkowitz if you've been there, but alas, you weren't there, so you didn't hear those stories. If you want to hear them later on, ask me about it. So, Claudia, tell me about what's going on summertime with you. I haven't talked to you in a little while. So what's your summer looking like?
Oh, it's really busy, but the most exciting thing is my mom and I are leaving for Armenia on Wednesday for some touring around the country, and I have some research stuff to do there with my Armenian collaborators. So she'll be with me in Armenia for about 10 days, and I'll be there for about 17 total.
And you're going to make sure she gets on her plane to come back home, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
I might personally drop her back off at the Yerevan
so
airport.
otherwise, for all we know, she'll end up in Sri Lanka or Botswana.
I am watching that plane leave the ground.
Yeah, I'm supportive of you doing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So gang, so some of you may have been a little bit confused about some of our scheduling confusion about tonight's show. So here's the deal. So there's no inappropriate rumors going around. So as some of you might know, Joan Orr was supposed to be our guest this evening. And we had actually gone through our pre-show prep meeting with Joanne a couple of weeks ago. And alas, a couple of days after we spoke to Joanne, she fell and she broke her femur. She's fine. She's currently in Cleveland Clinic rehab, and she's on her road to recovery. It's just a reflection of the lengths some people will go to try to avoid being on our show if they say yes to being here. So there you go. Hence our programming changes. Bob Horan, who's our guest tonight, was going to be our guest on our next show, first show in July. And he graciously, I know you don't hear the words Bob Horan and graciously all that often, but Bob Horan graciously agreed to be our guest tonight instead and move up his time to be on the show. And so we are very, very appreciative of that. And we're happy that Bob's with us. Quick reminder, please use that chat function at the bottom of your screen to announce yourself. Make sure you send it to everybody and not just to the panelists because your fellow congregants want to know that you are here.
If you've been with us before, we're very appreciative for you for coming back. And if this is your first time with us, we're glad that you're here. And we hope that you'll be with us every couple of weeks and make that a part of your routine. And if you're enjoying yourself, please tell your UUCC friends. We're really excited to have them join the show, watch the show. And another reminder is that if you've missed a part of the show in the past and you want to check it out, many of the episodes are up on our UUCC YouTube channel. There are some missing episodes because of music being used without permission, but we're doing some editing and hopefully those will be added onto the site fairly soon.
Thanks, Claudia. So as some of you know, we've established the Jack Ullman comedy moment, where we hear some jokes from Jack. And of course, Jack's jokes are clearly the only guaranteed moment of levity on the show. So please, everybody, let's give a warm welcome to Jack Ullman. Jack, you're on.
Good evening, David. Good evening, Claudia. Good to be with you again. On this, what is the 21st show? I know I've been here for 20 of them. The one night I missed, I was sailing on Lemon Bay off Port Charlotte looking for pirates. By the way, do you know what happens when you take the P out of pirate? He becomes irate. Get it? Irate, irate. Well, at any rate, yesterday's service featured two brilliant seniors. That is high school seniors, David, not like you and me seniors. At any rate, afterwards, I met two new couples who are really engaged, fiancés for the first time. And it reminded me of my relationship with Betsy, my fiancé. We've been together now for more than 35 years and engaged for 10 years. When people ask her when we're getting married, she says, when the baby comes. Frankly, David, I'm not optimistic. At any rate, tonight you have a great guest in Bob Horan. We share many of the same theological perspectives. And one among the things is defining what a Unitarian Universalist is. We've discovered that it's someone who believes in life before death. Someone who faces all questions with an open mouth. Bob was once told, I hear you deny the divinity of Christ. That's not true, Bob replied. We don't deny the divinity of anyone. But that's basically, as you know, David, UUs are good people who, for the most part, try to live by the 10 suggestions. Well, that's it for me, David and Claudia. Have a good evening. Jack's joke's over.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. By the way, I mentioned during our last episode about Jack being a man of many interests, and of course, rock and roll being one of them. As you know, he's one of the gurus of rock and roll. He gave me some suggestions for songs to play, even though I had never asked him for any, which is a clear error on my part. So he played a song to close out our last episode, but alas, he had some technical issues. Someone who couldn't hear it. We rectified that this time by having our opening song be another Jack selection. It was a song called Season of the Witch by Donovan, a folk jazz British singer-songwriter who had his biggest commercial success in the mid-late 60s with songs like Hurdy-Gurdy Man and Sunshine Superman, stuff like that. I was excited because it was the first song I ever heard actually mentioned a comic book hero. And of course, that's one of my addictions. Anyway, our guest tonight is Bob Horan, who too is a man of many interests and a man of much wisdom. He's a professor, he's a philosopher, he's a storyteller, and all-around funny man with wisdom to share. He's got the benefits of years of living to provide a healthy perspective, and he hasn't been a UU for 1,000 years. So he's got a healthy view of our denomination, our congregation. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm UUCC welcome to Bob Horan.
Yay, Bob.
Bob, I'm hearing people hearing in the background, oh, that poor man. So you've got some people supporting you, some people sympathizing with you already, Bob. You haven't gotten started. So how you doing tonight? Glad to have you with us this evening.
We're fantastic. It's good to see you too. The audio is weird. This is not like sitting across the table at Edith Joe's, as we were just saying. So, you have to forgive my bad ears and my big mouth off the front.
Well, we assumed a big mouth, Bob. It's why you were invited to be on the show. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. So Bob, let's start with the classic COVID question. Tell us how long ago you got your vaccinations and what you're doing differently now that you have been vaccinated that you didn't do before you were vaccinated. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, my wife Debbie Wright and I got vaccinated with other geezers our age in April. I think we finished up in April with the geezer, brigade, and so we've had a few months, but things have really begun to change just recently, I think. So we went to dinner. We went out to our friend's house for dinner this weekend. We went to a golf tournament. Not a huge mob, but a mob enough for me. That kind of thing is just beginning. We traveled. We went to see our sister-in-law, brother-in-law in New York State. The first trip we'd taken in a year and a half. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So how did that trip feel, taking that first trip? I'm on my first trip right now, going to Boston. I have to say that I was wondering how I feel about it. Felt okay to me. How'd your first trip feel?
Yeah, it's probably just too soon to say. It's the same, but it's different because you haven't done it in a year and a half. So a ride you've taken many times, but people, my wife hadn't seen her sister in 2 years, so it's peculiar. So it's kind of like you can taste the peculiar in the gumbo, I don't know how else to say it. It's just, as my students would say, it's the same but different.
Same but different. Yeah.
Is that a common idiom or is that a Bob idiom?
No, that's like a freshman English, when you're trying to sort something out that you really haven't, you don't have words for the distinction.
The peculiar and the gumball. That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, let's start with a little bit of your personal history. So where are you from?
Born in Milwaukee, grew up outside Chicago.
Nice.
Parents were Chicago people, moved up there for work and then came back to the Chicago area and built a house in the town called Mount Prospect in the northwest suburb.
Oh, yeah.
And they had 6 kids. So we had 6 kids. And
Wait, your folks had 6 kids? You are one of 6?
Yeah. I haven't had 6 kids.
I was going to say, I think maybe I would have known if you'd had 6.
Yeah.
So Bob, in the category of it's a small world, my wife spent 3 years working in Mount Prospect.
Is that
But
right?
you probably did that after you were a youth. So I'm not surprised you probably didn't come across each other back then.
Yeah. It's changed a lot. You know, it was a newish suburb. And so there was a farm across the street, kitty corner. And one day they picked up the farmhouse and rolled it down the street and put it in a, a big hole 2 doors down from us. The family that did that, their grandfather, the kid's grandfather, had been a gaucho in Argentina, which is a TV show that featured a gaucho, who threw around these bolo things. So I bothered the heck out of this guy. Had a little tiny mustache, and he didn't speak much. I said, tell me about being a gaucho. What's it like on those horses? What about that bolo thing? You want to smoke a cigarette?
Was his name Senor Cuevos?
No. He was just Mr. Zauner to me. We didn't. But I thought I was confused. I was a youth. Watched TV. Yeah.
So you grew up with 5 other siblings and your folks outside of Chicago. Can you tell us a little bit more about the structure of your family, what the dynamics were like? Were you close with your siblings?
Well, we had like an 1,100 square foot house. So that's like half of the first floor of the house I'm in right now.
You were very close.
You were very close.
You were close.
You were close enough at the kitchen table, Claudia. Somebody acted up. You could, one of my parents could get, they could control the table.
Okay, so besides proximity, what was your family like from a religious and a spiritual perspective?
Well, we were Roman Catholic, and we were brought up that way. And my parents are a little bit different, but they were pretty devout, And we went to parochial school.
Wow.
Let's see, 5 of us went to parochial school. My youngest brother went to the public school. And so he went to mass on Sunday. He went to confession. They thought we should be at confession usually every other day, but they didn't offer it every other day. You do the novenas, you do the various ceremonies. I've forgotten many of them now, but it was a big part of the life.
Yeah. I know some friends whose families were devout Catholics and sent them to Catholic school and all the things, but did not go to church themselves. This was a whole family thing.
Oh, yeah. Everybody went. Now, once my mother learned to drive, she learned to drive. I think she had about 4 children before she learned to drive. So you can imagine it would be kind of isolating. That's what it was like. But once she learned to drive, then they went and split shifts. So my dad would take a couple, my mother would take a couple, and then they would, have a, what do we used to call that in the hospital? They'd discuss it, who did you see, what happened, what was your sermon like, this kind of thing.
I can just envision, Bob, your mother being stuck at home with 3 others like you and basically banging her head against the wall going to the loony bin.
It was tough, really. It was tough. I am the quietest member of my family. Of the 6 children, I am the quietest.
Oh, your poor mother.
I know. It's shocking. Well, as we used to say, mother of God,
So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned as you were growing up?
Well, many, many lessons.
From your mother or from the church?
Well, altogether, then many, many more. My some of my mother's sayings, they're still pretty active. So I inflicted them on our daughter and now on my grandchildren. Things like, it's always funny till somebody loses an eye. That was used frequently. And it turned out, her brother, our Uncle Jimmy, who I think I've only seen him once or twice in my whole life, but he had lost an eye. How did he do that? Fireworks, playing with fireworks. So,
oh no, that's not funny. I'm sorry.
Blew up in his eye. The time we saw Uncle Jimmy, we were like, can you tell which eye it is? We couldn't tell because he had another eye in there. And so, yeah, these little kids are like, screwed the poor man, you know. It's like, why are these kids looking at me? You know, I'll bet my sister told him about my eye, you know. Which anyway,
Just trying to pick it out.
yeah, there are a lot of situations that proverb still works. There was a time with my dad. He took me to a movie. You know, it didn't happen too often. I remember it. We took the train down to the city. We got out. We're walking toward the loop, and there's a bunch of guys like leaning up against the building, drinking, blah blah blah, looking like whatnot. And I said to my dad, "Look at those bums." I said that. I was a little kid. He stopped me. He jacked me over. He said, "Never say that." He said, "You have no idea how those guys got where they are. You have no idea. You step away from this yourself. Don't talk like that."
Wow.
So I remember that because that was a lesson in what Unitarian Universalists call worth and dignity of every person.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the way you need to talk to a child.
So could you tell us a little bit,
Excuse me?
just directly?
Yeah.
I was just hoping that you could tell us a little bit about your college, what you majored in, and what you plan to do before we transition to your life today.
Right. I went to Shimer College, was in Mount Carroll, Illinois at the time. My major was humanities. Curriculum there was peculiar. It had the University of Chicago. It was like it'd been a lab school for Chicago. So you had about 2.5 years of general education. Everyone in the college took the same classes. So the 3rd and 4th year students had read the same books you were reading when you were,
Wow.
a new joker. As they say, it didn't stop in the classroom. So these sort of conversations about common readings and then topics in the readings went on in the dormitory and out and about. Then what was the second part of that, Claudia?
Oh, just broadly. So you told us your major. What did you want to do when you were in college? What did you want to be?
When I went off, I thought psychology was pretty interesting, but I fell in love with literature again. I'd been in love with literature in high school. And so, and then as I studied literature, trying to talk about it, I was, we were reading all the modernist texts and so forth. So I got interested in, what we thought of as myth, these underlying structures of belief. And how modernist writers had used them to tell stories about everyday life now. So it's something like Joyce's Ulysses, it was interesting to me. So as I got into that material, I learned about folklore, and so then I ended up eventually kind of going that way in my graduate school studies.
It's so funny you talk about going to college and taking the same class that you had like 2+ years of required classes. So we're not that many years apart in age. And I went to college, was the school I went to actually was blowing away all the required classes. By the time I went there, before I started there, it was like 1.5 years required classes. By the time I actually went there, 1 required class. I think 1 English course, and that was it. Otherwise, free reign, anything you wanted to take.
Right. Well, I was in high school and I used to wander around, I was dreamy and poetic and moody and all this. And
like James Dean. Yeah, we knew that about you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to confirm your observation.
Yeah.
I meet these two young people in this, it's late, it's in the middle of the night, and we would start chatting and they said, college. They said, what college are you going? I said, Shimer College. They said, really? I said, yeah. They said, we know a guy who goes to Shimer College. I said, no kidding. Does he like it? And they said, oh, he thinks it's great, but he's a little weird. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he goes to bed at night. He's got a stack of books by the side of the bed. When he wakes up in the morning, he takes the first book at the top, he reads with his assignment, then he puts it down, then he goes to the next book and he keeps reading until, he's done. Then he gets out of bed. Now, I thought this sounded like fun. I thought this was, I had been, I thought there were a lot of answers in books, so I thought this sounded great. I might get some answers and figure things out, you know.
So Bob, how did you land in Cleveland? How did you get here?
Well, you know, our daughter Erin fell in love with a guy who worked with Progressive, and she was an event planner, and he was handling claims. And so the first time we met our son-in-law Kurt, we're in a restaurant in Philadelphia. He's got one of his little, I forget what kind it was, a device, and the thing keeps
Playing BlackBerry.
beep, 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 BlackBerry beeping. I said, what the hell is all this beeping? He said, well, he says, we got hail throughout Minnesota. He said, it runs on a line along I-94, all kinds of hail strikes. Looks like it's moving into the Dakota. I thought, what kind of world is this? Well, that was his world. He could tell you, Houston, he knew all about the disasters in Houston, all the cars that are being wrecked this way and that way. And so he would fly around the country taking care of this. Meanwhile, our daughter was, you know, hooking up events, beauty product events in San Jose and one week and Miami the next week. And so they kind of decided they needed to, you know, plant it or they were never going to pull things off. So he took a job here at you know, world headquarters of Progressive, and time went on, had a kid, and they said, hey, why don't you think about moving out here? You know, you can maybe handle another adventure. And so, you know, my wife, of course, is a great adventurer. So we came out here.
So speaking of your wife, you never told us how you met her.
Well, Dave, I think it was like February 1970. Heavy snowfall, Mount Carroll, northwestern Illinois. I'm with my pal Charles Rosengard, and across the quad, I see this, you know, what we used to call Babe. And I said, Chuck, I said, who is that? He said, that's Debbie Wright. He said, and she's a very nice girl. Anyway, that's how I saw it. And so I arranged, well, there's enough, you know, we invited her in the end to a party, my roommate and I, and she came, and that's when I met her. And she didn't think too much of me, but I was persistent. And over time, many years, you know, she said, okay, I'll hang around with you. Did David get frozen?
David frozen? That's very sweet. Wow.
Oh.
Aw. So
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit? I can't tell if David will, oh, there he's unfrozen.
He's back. All right.
David, you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here. Yeah.
Oh,
Did I
okay.
get lost?
You did get a little lost.
Yeah.
Happens a lot to me. Well, yeah, my screen now says my internet connection is unstable. You know, Boston, it's low tech here, not like Cleveland. So, so Bob, give us the Reader's Digest version of what your work life is like. What did you do for work? You said you basically fell in love with the classics, fell in love with the myths and stuff. So what did you end up doing?
Well, I published some poems. I'm at my in-laws' house, and a friend of my sister-in-law rolls in. We're all shooting the breeze. Mail comes. I get a letter from a guy who runs a magazine, and he said, hey, I saw your poems. Would you submit a couple of poems to the special issue we're doing? And I was like thrilled, you know. It was like, what, 21, 22, something like that. And the guy who was there visiting, he said, are you a poet? I said, heck yeah, look at this letter. I had a letter in my hand. And he said, you know, because we're looking for a poetry therapist. Do you think you could do that? I said, heck yeah, I could do that. A poetry therapist.
Poetry therapist. Is that
Poetry therapist.
cure people from being poets?
I'm sorry?
Is that to cure people from being poets?
No. He was working at the Institute of Pennsylvania Hospital.
Oh, no kidding.
That was Thomas Kirkbride's hospital, which became the model for the physical plant of mental hospitals around the United States. Famous place. And he wasn't kidding. This was to treat patients, and they had, you know, it was an adjunct to what they did. I said I could do it. I went, blah, blah, blah. I got hired. And then I'm around. His guy was very interested in early onset schizophrenia. So these adolescent kids with a diagnosis of schizophrenia, he would bring, we had about, you know, there were 8 to 12 of them. and he would bring them to the class with me. And so it was a wild situation, and to me, it was fascinating. So, I would stay later. I would be there for like a couple hours a week, and then I would go up with him kind of on rounds and like talk to the patients and these staff members. It was fascinating to me. Anyway, I ended up working there full time doing activities therapy, where the idea is to you're building activities that fit with what's going on in the individual and group psychotherapy for the patients. So you're trying to do things that coordinate, connect from one of these sessions to the next, with the goal of the patient moving out into everyday life with other people. That's so as part of that, we did take kids backpacking trips, bicycle canoe trips, these kinds of things out in the community. Anyway, yeah, so we did that. I did that. I did that again at a residential treatment center in New Jersey, where I met one of our people who's here tonight, the great art therapist, Mary Kimport. But there we had kids who had set the teacher's hair on fire in Newark or Camden, this kind of thing. They were all in one place, and then there I developed an activities therapy program, and so from there, the time came where it was clear that was really a younger person's job, because it involved sometimes grappling with out of control youths. And we still have knives I use in the kitchen today that, I appropriated from the youths. And I've got, an authentic New Jersey street fighting bat, some of these souvenirs.
Yeah.
These things work at a certain point, and then it's like, I kind of wanted to make more of the connections with other things I had done. Sorry if this isn't clear. So I went back to graduate school, got the degree in folklore. I thought I would teach. I figured I want to teach. Teaching would be a way to do this. Teaching college students. College had been a powerful experience for me, so I wanted to be part of that thing. And so that's how that happened.
So what was all the things you've done in your life? What was the best part of your work life?
It's hard to say like this. The best part, I think, today, I'm thinking the best part are these jobs where you have you're working with a team and you're actually getting something done. So we're trying to help patients get some clarity, improve their life skills to function in the world. You're trying to help a student communicate more clearly, that kind of thing. Today,
Bob,
but, tomorrow could be another thing.
So Bob, Claudia's going to take you through the Colbert lightning round, where she asks you some questions you have to respond to quickly. And after you said that you knew about a few of the questions also, I want to make it clear, Bob, you are not getting a fruit question tonight. There is no fruit question for you, since you made a comment about it when we were talking to you before. So Claudia,
Really
take it away.
disappointed. I have been thinking about fruit for 2 weeks.
Now after this, have a piece of
I have
watermelon, but
peaches.
you're not getting it right now, man. That's the way it is.
All right,
Claudia,
Bob, these are important. These are big questions, so get ready. All right, you ready?
All right.
Okay, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the best concert you ever attended?
The best. We'll say Cassandra Wilson at the Dakota.
Okay. What is the trait that you most value in your friends?
Oh, wow. Warmth.
What is the scariest animal?
Whichever one has its teeth open is, coming at me like that,
Okay, what do you think happens when we die?
What do I think happens? I think nothing happens.
Okay. This is a big one for me. What's your favorite smell?
Great question. Maybe bread baking.
Ooh.
There are a lot of.
Who is the living? This is the lightning round, Bob. Who is the living person who you most admire?
Wow. I'm stumped. I'm stumped. I'm stumped. Yeah, I'm stumped.
You can throw it in later. What is the most overrated virtue?
Well, you know, this was a loose salsa question. I remember
This is such a weird question.
You know, I don't think any virtues. The virtues are not overrated. That's why.
Virtuous.
That's why they're virtues.
Huh.
The underappreciated virtue, which occurred to me, is hospitality. To me, this is the queen of virtues,
Okay.
because it embodies everything else.
Can you describe the rest of your life in 5 words?
No.
Okay. That's it then. That's our Colbert lightning round.
Oh boy.
So Bob, how did you find you good Roman Catholic? How did you find UU?
Well, Debbie and I have what used to be called a mixed marriage. So we grew up in different faith traditions, and so when we got married, we got married in Pennsylvania. We invented the ceremony ourselves, and in Pennsylvania, you don't need a minister to marry you. The state was founded by Quakers, and they still have a provision in the law for Quaker marriage where you marry yourselves in the presence of witnesses. So we had 2 witnesses, and so we did it ourselves. So that was kind of how we had come up, trying to work out what we had, each had come from and what we could blend together. We were now we're going to move here. We were going to have 30 or 40 more years to meet people by raising children and, that kind of thing. So we were thinking of a church as a social deal at first. But underlying that was a experience we had with our Debbie's cousin's kid, Taya. She went through this thing called coming of age at Unity Church in St. Paul. So we got invited. We liked Taya a lot, and but I'm thinking, it's an hour and a half drive. We'll go over and hear Taya's thing, and then we'll go to a club. We'll catch a band, and so we pop over and we sit down. They don't do it like they do it here in Cleveland. This was like, you're tucked in for the night. I had no idea. So you sit down. These kids don't go for like 5-10 minutes, Dave. They go. I mean, they went. These kids, they gave them like carte blanche. So they're talking like 15-20 minutes. And I'm like, I'm knocked out. I'm a teacher. I'm like, wow, who the hell are these kids? So it was a beautiful thing. There were probably like 15 kids, and they ranged from a kid who probably walked out the door and went to Yale, and then another kid who was developmentally disabled. The whole schmear was just beautiful. Every kid nailed their, what matters to you? Those questions we work at in coming of age. Anyway, I walked away from that experience. I thought, if these are the kids, who the heck are the parents? If this is the fruit, where's the tree? So time comes, we're in Cleveland, and we're saying, we started to explore faith communities, and we looked at the Unitarian Universalist groups in the area. Then we came to First Unitarian, and we liked it. Like Daniel Butt, I liked the preacher who had poetry at the center of the thing. I liked one light, many windows. This was how we saw things. I believe that makes sense to me. And so then the people, all these characters. Here you've got the Zoom show, and you include humor right off the bat. That's distinctive. It would be nice if that were foregrounded more, but that's a great quality. To me, a lot of characters, a lot of people who are curious about things, they're interested in living. They seem to get that, we have a very special gift, being alive. This is the day the Lord has given us, let's live fully. That kind of thing is what that's why we signed the book.
So as many of you in the audience might know, I'm sorry, go on, Bob.
No.
As many of you in our audience might know, Bob is just wrapping up his term on the UUCC Board after years of distinguished service there. So Bob, I guess I'm curious, but when you were first asked to join the board, what was your reaction? Were you thinking, are you people crazy? Or were you thinking, well, I can't do any worse than the rest of them? What were you thinking?
Well, I was honored to be asked. I figured I was, I was probably way down on the ballot, but this is how life works. And but it was, I was honored to be asked. I was glad to get a turn early on. Yeah, it's an honor to be asked.
So what was the best part of your board experience?
Well, I think these working with people on little projects where you have a little group and then you actually get something done. So this year we had a thing involved with the website, trying to juice up the website, find a way to have content flowing into it on a regular basis, and I worked with people I hadn't worked with before, and it was just a hoot. A couple of years ago, my friend Horace Reese and I put on 2 concerts in the church. We brought 250 people into the building to hear Evolution of Gospel Music and then Heritage Chorale. That was a hoot. Classes, I've taught a few classes, and so that was a beautiful thing. Those are all, but they're all that kind of deal where you get together, it's kind of concise and yeah. Anyway, sorry if it's a little too vague, but.
That's all right. So what surprised you most about your fellow board members?
Well, my time on the board has been, through a very peculiar time in the congregation's history. It's been an adventure from start to finish. In the beginning, we were making the transition away from our interim minister. That was all kind of, we were supposedly dating. First, I was on the board at First Unitarian. We were dating the society, and I kept waiting for, to get, when was the first kiss going to happen and so forth. But we kept, well, we're dating. We're only dating. Bob, slow down. And then we had the pandemic. So then the board members were all like this. The board members, their faces, you're always public. So the surprising thing, you didn't have much contact with the pandemic because of that. You actually didn't meet in person. So you don't have like the fooling around before and afterwards, and you don't go out, that kind of deal. In the beginning, it was just, things were kind of, I might call hectic. So it was very hectic. So
what's your biggest takeaway now that your board term is about to end?
Well, I'm grateful I had a chance to do it. That's kind of my takeaway.
So when you're not doing UU stuff, what do you do? What are your hobbies? What are your non-UU hobbies?
Let's see. I like the game of golf. I play the game of golf. I like to play saxophone. So I seek out golf teacher. I have a golf teacher. I have a saxophone teacher. I do that. I have pals, music pals. I like to walk around the block with my wife. And of course, we live in a dangerous block, it can take an hour and a half to walk around the block, today we went out, it was like 90 degrees. We're going to walk the dog. And I swear, we're out there for 45, 50 minutes. This is not a big block. This isn't a Cleveland block. We live in South Euclid. It's a little regular block, but we're under a tree. It was good. But my daughter and her family are here, so it's just a treat to be able to see them. It beats that 15-hour drive, I'll tell you that. But now the kids are unmasked. They used to look like little bandits, with the masks on.
So Bob, last question for you before we go to break. So if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I know that this is a question it's important part of the show. For me, the superpower would be able to sing. That would be a superpower for me. I wish I could sing these sounds I hear. I would, singers don't have to clean an instrument. They don't have to dump the spit out of the horn of the saxophone. They don't have to pack it in you'd be more like the flute players. They run a little hanky through it and then bada bing, they're on their way. Anyway, it would be nice. That would be for me, it would be a superpower.
Okay, that's a great answer. Okay, gang, we're going to take a brief break here to get your questions for Bob organized. So if you have a question to ask, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and ask it. Don't use the chat function, use the Q&A function, please. And please ask your questions. We'd like them for Bob here. So it's not just the stuff that Claudia and I dreamed up to ask him about. We'll get things organized for you to ask you questions when we return, but first our mid-show break with the song Indian Cars by Keith Secola. We'll see you in a few.
Is this a tape?
I've been driving in my Indian car with the pound of the wheels drumming in my brain. My dash is dusty, my plates are expired. Please, Mr. Officer, let me explain. I got to make it to a powwow tonight. I'll be singing 49 down by the riverside, looking for sugar, riding in my Indian car. Got my T-bird in the glove box, I ain't got no spare. Got a feather from an eagle, I ain't got no care. The road is empty in my bottle of desire. Daylight is breaking, the sun touches fire. I got to make another powwow tonight. I'll be singing 49 down by the riverside, looking for sugar, riding in my Indian car. Car is dented, the radiator steams. One headlight don't work, the radio can scream. I got a sticker that says Indian Power. I stuck it on a bumper, that's what holds my car together. We're on a circuit of an Indian dream. We don't get old, we just get younger. When we're flying down the highway, riding in our Indian car. We're on a circuit of an Indian dream. We don't get old, we just get younger. When we're flying down the highway, riding in our Indian cars. Riding in our Indian cars. Riding in our Indian cars. Go ahead, go ahead.
And that was Indian Cars, spelled capital N, capital D, capital N, Cars, K-A-R-S, by Keith Secola, a Native American folk rock artist. He recorded the song Indian Cars in 1992 for the Canadian movie Dance Me Outside, which was released in 1994. That song was suggested as Minerva Mix Show's songs are by our guest, Bob Horan. Okay, enough background. Bob, you ready to take some questions from the audience?
A little more background on Keith's song. That's considered the unofficial anthem of Indian country.
There you go. You heard it here first, gang. So
Hopefully
let's
not,
start.
but-
First questions from Michael. Michael, you have a question for Bob Horan. Unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, Mike.
How you doing? Finally got in.
Good, good.
My question for you is, how far should the world go with political correctness?
Yeah. How do you mean political correctness here?
Oh, everything. Not using derogatory words, having transgender bathrooms, anything that would be to have everything more inclusive.
Yeah. For me, that's what you would do. I mean, it's kind of like non-derogatory language. Really, that's like, your mother told you what to do about that. Don't talk that way. And I think that's kind of fundamentally what a lot of this is. That's how I take it. Issues like transgender bathrooms seem to me to be, these kind of spectacular, politically charged type issues. So I guess I don't have too much to say about that. But in terms of, the other thing is that a lot of people are just, it's old news to some people, but other people are just discovering this. Holy cow, this is what this means. And, this is how it feels to other people who hear this. And so they're enthusiastic because they just learned something, and I think, you may have heard about it before, you may have internalized it many years ago, but for some people it's new. So we're all living together in this situation. I think people should be treated with respect. But you got to go to the bathroom. You got to go to the bathroom. I mean, it's sorry. Is this kind of what you were thinking about, Mike?
Well, yeah, in a way. I mean, sometimes I think it's carried out too far. People are scared to be honest with each other, or scared to say something, thinking they're going to offend somebody. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think that my daughter had a reception this past weekend, and people are saying all sorts of stuff, and everyone's drinking, so they're being loose and being very humorous. Yeah. So it's okay, but I have no problem with it. But then other people, they'll get easily offended and say, you shouldn't be saying that. Yeah. Well, I think, right. There's the country is based on conflict in my, the way I read it. So, and this is not new. But I came up, the insults were, they were pretty lively, and they led to fights, not these discussing fights either. And of course, a little bit of alcohol always, gets things interesting, doesn't it?
Thanks, Mike, for your question. Next question for Mary Schatzman. Mary, you're on with Bob Horan.
Okay, Bob. During COVID in South Euclid, in the place where you live, what have you done, and you and Debbie, to foster community?
Well, we walk around the block. We walk in our neighborhood, and we talk to people. We introduce ourselves to people we don't know. I was just reminded, our co-religionist Erica Brown had a saying about, I forget how she teed it up, but it was kind of along the lines of, I forget how she teed it up, but the gist, she'd say, you meet your neighbors, you say hello to your neighbors, and you can avert problems by saying hello to your neighbors. And then, of course, when you have a problem, you're going to have to say hello to work things out. So that's kind of the thing we did. My wife is very active in the city. She's in the tree commission, and she's involved in local political issues and so forth. So, and a lot of that has to do with community. But I think in terms of fostering a sense of connectedness, we do it. We continue to walk our dog around the neighborhood. We talk to people. We're seen, and as well as we see other people. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks, and yay for dogs.
Amen, Mary. You're right.
Speaking of dog lovers, next question, Bob, comes from Mary Ellen McNulty. Mary Ellen, you're on with Bob Horan.
Hey, Bob.
Hi,
How
Mary
you
Ellen.
doing?
Good. How you feel?
I'm doing okay. Thank you. I traveled on a plane and I've got to squish my grandbaby, so I'm doing really
Wow.
well.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so you and Debbie traveled to see Debbie's sister, or
Yeah.
your sister.
Debbie's sister.
So do you have any other trips scheduled? Any other trips scheduled or any trips planned? Any place you really want to go now that COVID's over? Well, not over, but you're at a place where you can travel now.
Yeah. I think we got a little thing coming up shortly. Go see the LPGA in Toledo, which would be an overnight in a motel, and our dog Walt would maybe get an overnight with our grandkids and our daughter and son-in-law. So, but it's a little thing. We don't have a big travel.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's a little thing.
Good. Well, have fun. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
It's fun to start doing things again. It's fun to start doing normal things again.
Yeah. I know what you mean. They all have the peculiar taste to them. It's a new spice.
Yes.
We're going to get tight on time tonight, gang. All the questions we have here. Next question from Allison Bastion. Allison, you have 2 questions here. You can only ask one. Which one do you want to ask Bob?
Okay. Well, Bob, I want to know who your favorite poet is.
Wow. Too many right now. I'm thinking about Du Fu lately, the Chinese poet from the Tang Dynasty, 800 AD, Tang Dynasty guy. He lived as okay.
Is he a friend of yours?
Allison? Yeah, she's a friend.
No,
he's a friend of mine, not mine, but maybe he's a friend of Bob's.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about.
Du Fu. Yeah, he's. I'd recommend him. He worked as an official, and he was sent all over China, and it's a time of constant conflicts, wars, and he settles in one place and then he leaves, and so his life is a lot of movement, a lot of change, and he made do with friends. He stayed in touch with his friends and his family, and so these poems are to his friends, about his travels, and you've got he just does a lot with like flowers falling, or the sound of the wind. Anyway, that's a guy who I just looked at recently, but I have many loves. I'm promiscuous with poets.
Let's stay in the poetry route.
I never heard of him.
Jack Ullman. Jack, you're on with Bob Horan. Jack, you have to unmute yourself.
Go. Okay, it just came on. I was curious, Bob, but one thing I was really kind of surprised about was your love of poetry and your success as a young man as a poet. Are you writing poetry today? And if so, what subjects intrigue you?
Not writing much poetry right now, Jack. I guess the thing that has always interested me is this places, these where the inner world connects with the outer, the sort of this. That's how I think of it. So there's like this, the self conversation, and my inner experiences connect with, or have parallels in, or are triggered. Something's triggered by what's visible to everybody, what's public. So these are some of the poets in the Imagist school. It's kind of just lyrical poetry, I guess, would be a broader category of it. So I love guys like Antonio Machado, and I like Pablo Neruda very much. I like the Rumi poems that in the translation, I'm blocking this, Coleman, somebody that Daniel Budd favored. So that kind of thing is a little more my take, but I met Allen Ginsberg at the Urinal at the Y in Philadelphia. I saw he for our business. It was, we're there for our business. I like that kind of poem too. I like the Whitman kind of declamatory type thing. Robert Duncan, Ginsberg, that stuff as well. Is this answering your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. We're going to do two last questions before we call it a night. So some of you are going to be disappointed. We're not going to get to your questions this evening. We apologize. And for those of you hoping for a 9 o'clock hard stop, we're going to run a couple minutes over, I'm afraid. Next question is from one of our guests, Yanan Lee. Yanan, you're on with Bob Horan. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Bob, I've noticed this is not Yanan Lee, this is Tom Leitner. So I'm on her computer. I've just noticed your living patterns. They follow the Great Lakes along the Rust Belt states to Pennsylvania and Newark, New Jersey.
Yes.
If you did not have family in Ohio or family anywhere else, where would you have selected to retire to? Wow,
that's kind of unanswerable. I'll tell you, if I did not have family in Cleveland, if I did not have my beautiful daughter in Cleveland, I hope somebody would have turned me on to it, because this is, I hope this is a video that doesn't get released, because Cleveland's a well-kept secret. And I mean, I really don't know, Tom. I don't know what the answer is. We thought about it. We didn't plan on this. This was kind of came up, and we responded to it. But we would have probably been, I was a teacher, so we didn't have much money. That would have, would have found some place that was, where we could live kind of in the middle of the thing, and but close enough to good libraries, music, outdoor stuff that we like to do, those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Good night, Bob.
Good to hear your voice. Yanan, it's a new name.
Last question tonight, Bob, comes from Kat White. And by the way, the question that Kat's asking, coincidentally, is the same question that Carol Gay was going to ask you. So, Kat, you get to ask it.
Okay.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Kat.
What are you looking forward to in your post-board life with all of your extra time?
Oh, well, I'm not going to have as much extra time as you, but I don't know. So I'm looking forward to seeing what develops. I don't. There's not like a plan. I didn't have a plan of, yeah. So I want to do more of seeing my daughter and my grandchildren, my son-in-law play more golf, play more music, that kind of, read more, that kind of stuff. But I really don't know what's up, and I'm looking forward to the new thing that I couldn't see because I was doing the other thing.
Thanks, Bob. That's a great answer.
Before we roll, everybody should know that Yanan Lee, actually Tom Leitner, this is a Borges type of event he just did here, is the author of a marvelous book about hitchhiking across China, available on Amazon. And unlike most travelers to China who fly into Beijing and then move kind of west, Tom Leitner, in his adulthood, goes to the west of China and hitchhikes the other way. It's a terrific little book.
It's on lulu.com.
Thank you for that commercial, everybody. We have no questions in the audience to read tonight. The future shows, if you have any comments or questions to share, please send them to Zoom-In, ZOOMIN, at uucleveland.org. That's Zoom-In at uucleveland.org. We'll read the best ones on our future shows if and when you have something to share with us. So, Bob, thanks for being our special guest tonight. Claudia, how about our next show?
All right. Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much. You really embody what I love about hosting this show. This has been so much fun. Our next show will be on Monday, July 12th, with special guest to be determined. They prefer the nickname TBD. TBD has never guested on our show, so goodness knows what we'll ask them and what they will say. So check your favorite UUCC information source for better information on our next show's guest in the coming days. We can say this, that David will be joined by co-host Will Barrett. And of course, you definitely won't want to miss the Jack Ullman comedy moment. So join them all on July 12th for our next episode of UUCC Zoom-In Live.
Thanks, Claudia. Well, we've already run out of shows. So again, let's give a major league round of applause to Liz Kantor, our producer, who's just back from her 1-year anniversary trip to Mexico. As I say each show, my co-host and I do the easy stuff. Liz has to make sure that things actually happen. So thank you, Liz. And as a reminder, if you'd like to catch up with your fellow congregants after the show, just stay right here for a chance to chat with your fellow UUs. Liz will get you squared away following our wrap-up music. Speaking of which, we're going to leave you tonight with the song, Could It Be I'm Falling in Love? It's 72, top of the chart song by the Spinners. As some of you may know, and Jack Ullman will tell you another time, a couple of members of the group have lived in the greater Cleveland area. So anyway, we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for the next episode of UUCC Zoom-In Live. Bob and Claudia, say good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Since I met you, I've begun to feel so strange. Every time I speak your name, that's funny. You say that you are so helpless too, that you don't know what to do. Each night I pray there will never come a day when you up and take your love away. Say you feel the same way too, and I wonder what it is I feel for you. Could it be I'm falling in love with you, baby? Could it be I'm falling in love? Could it be I'm falling in love with you? With you, with you. I don't need all those things that used to bring me joy. You made me such a happy boy. And honey, you'll always be the only one for me. Meeting you was my destiny. You can be sure I will never let you down. When you need me, I'll be around. And darling, you'll always be the only one for me. Heaven made you specially. Could it be I'm falling in love with you, baby? Could it be
Hello.
Hello.
That was fun, Bob. Wow.
Thanks, Claudia. Thanks
Did
for.
you have fun?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah, I did. Thank you. It's fun to see you in person here. Like I said, your mom
In person, yeah.
was around. Yeah, we heard about you.
Yeah, it's nice. This is